Today I'm welcoming in Alan Bird. How are you, Alan?
Doing great today. Thank you.
Awesome. Now, here's how this interview came to be. I was in St. George, Utah on President's Day weekend with all the rest of northern Utah. And I was looking for just a random church to attend, and which is very easy to do anywhere in Utah. I just drove until I found a church. I walked in the church for the sacrament time, and I noticed a QR code outside of their chapel. And, I'd seen QR codes before and linking to electronic programs. And so I scanned it, and I noticed how it took me to the sacrament meeting program, but it was well organized. It was displayed great. And I thought, what is this app? And so obviously I did some very simple investigating, and that led me to you, Alan, and because you created this app, which is the Ward Bulletin app, right?
Yes.
Awesome. So where does the story start for you?
Well, I was actually asked to create that. I'm a software developer by profession, and I had a friend when we were living in San Diego who was new to his bishopric, and he's really into tech. So he said, Alan, what we need is a Ward Bulletin app. And initially, I have to admit I wasn't too excited about it, but I did relent, and I wrote a Ward Bulletin app, and it turned out better than I thought it would be. And it's now used by, actually, last time I checked, there were about 500 accounts that had at least used the Word Bulletin app once.
Awesome.
So
that's cool. And so you're a programmer by profession, right?
Yes.
And so you can just whip up any program or thing that your heart can imagine, huh? Sometimes.
Yeah. So and the great thing is I'm basically retired now, so I can just do this all day, do whatever I want. So it's a lot of fun.
Awesome. And when you were putting this together, like, were there, there's the typical thing, dynamics of you want a place to put, speakers' names, opening prayers, benedictions, and those types of things. Were there any other important features you wanted to include in the Ward Bulletin app?
Well, actually, I'll be giving an overview in just a minute here, but yeah, okay. It can do a lot more than just a sacrament meeting program, and it doesn't have to be just for sacrament meetings. You can use it for state conference or a Relief Society meeting, or basically any type of meeting like that.
I love it. All right, well, should we show your screen and you can guide us through how this works? And
sure.
Okay.
So I'm starting with a blank screen here in my web browser. It is a web app, so you don't go looking for it in any of the mobile app stores or or any other app stores. All you have to do is open your web browser. It runs on any device, any mobile device, tablet, desktop. And the good thing is if you search for Ward Bulletin, the very top Google search result is this app. So
love it.
Yeah, I'm pretty amazed that out of all the possibilities that this one shows up at the top. So just go ahead and click on that. And this is the home screen. It's a pretty basic home screen. It's basically designed to make it very easy to get where you want to go. So your ward members will use one of these two buttons at the top to find the Ward Bulletin. If you click on Find Location, Safari is going to ask me to use my current location. And once we do that, there's 4, that kind of gives you a clue as to where I live. There's 4 Ward Bulletins that are fairly close to where I live. So as they enter the chapel, they can use that to find the bulletin by location.
Okay, so essentially, if somebody's visiting a ward and they don't necessarily see the QR code or the link to it, they can search to see if there's any active bulletins
Yes,
for that area.
exactly.
Okay.
They might get a neighboring ward, but anyway, that's as long as you know the ward name, you can find it by location. Also, if you know the ward name, you can find it by name. So, whoops, I have a sample ward called Green Ward that I edit and publish just for testing. And so
Love
by
it.
typing in the word green, it shows the possible wards. So I'll go ahead and click on that. And here's what it looks like. So the bulletin does have a cover section where you can put the name of the ward, a photo. Then here's the program section for a typical sacrament meeting. Some of these are interactive. So for example, this opening hymn, if I click on that, it will actually take me to the hymn, so I can just read it from there. Here's one that has columns, so you can put a whole bunch of names in there and it will format it in columns, this musical number here. There's a section here for announcements.
Love it.
And you can include images if you need. Here's a calendar section. And then there's a section there at the bottom where you can put leader information if you want. Generally, I would actually advise against not putting contact information here since it is a public document, but it does have that capability if you want to do that.
Yeah. And I love this, that obviously somebody could, because is it always like your ward bulletin has the same link that just updates as you change the bulletin, right?
Right.
So if somebody's not there one week and they want to make sure they know what was announced or what's going on, or they could easily just bookmark that link and then go to the ward bulletin each week, even if they don't attend their ward that week.
Right. It does have the capability on a mobile device of it's called saving it to the home screen. So it actually looks just like a regular app. You just go to your home screen and you can tap on the word bulletin button. I don't have the ability to do that on my laptop here, but you can do that on mobile device. Also, if once you have visited a ward, so you can see right here that in the recent ward bulletins section is this ward. I can easily go back to it. If I go between, like if I have a state calling and I go between several wards, they'll all show up here. So it'll be pretty easy to go back to a ward that you've already visited.
Now, does it require a login? I didn't see that you logged in. Is it just remembering your device, that type of thing?
Yeah. As far as viewing a ward bulletin, you do not need an account. You do need an account to edit a ward bulletin.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so I'll show you that in just a minute. This is version 2, which was actually just released this week. It's been in beta for several weeks and finally released it. One of the new features is this online help. So you can just click on that and, for example, here's the help on using the home screen. Here's the help on viewing a bulletin. There's some help on, a lot of help on editing a bulletin since, there's quite a bit, it's quite a bit more involved in actually editing the word bulletin. So it's got a pretty nice help system now. One of the other features I added in version 2 is language support. So that would be right here. It supports 2 languages other than English. So Spanish speakers can select that and view it in Spanish or Portuguese. I did some research and those are the 3 most widely used languages in the church. You would think, maybe German or French or something like that, but those hardly even rank compared to Spanish and Portuguese. Actually, if you scroll down here, if you're using it for the first time, I suggest that you try out just viewing a sample bulletin. this will bring up one similar to the one I just showed you. Or edit sample bulletin, which shows you, without having to set up an account, you can actually practice using the bulletin editor. So I'm actually going to go back and click on the edit bulletin. Once you've created an account, set up a bulletin, you click on that, and here's where you do the actual editing.
Yeah. And does it give you this template to start with your first time in there?
Yes. So there's a basic one to start with. Most over here on the left, we have items that we can add to the bulletin. For example, if you need to add a hymn, you can just drag it over here, and now we have another hymn. Let's call it the I don't know what to call it.
I'm a child of God.
Well, I mean, there's a name. It's Sacrament hymn or opening hymn, or
Oh, I see.
we'll go
like,
middle.
what hymn is it? Okay.
Hymn.
Intermediate hymn.
Yeah, that'll be the label. Actually, that shouldn't have shown up. So let's go to, I don't know, what's 25. So if you type in a hymn number, it automatically types in the title for you.
Oh, I love it.
It looks that up. If for some reason you don't like that title, you can call it something else, but by default, it will give you the regular title for it. And it also supports a whole bunch of languages. So if I need it in Danish, there's the title of the hymn in Danish.
Wow.
So like I said, these are all the items. You can add announcement articles.
And how do you do those columns of names like you have?
Okay, so here's an example right here. So all you have to do is type it in like this, and if I want to add somebody else, I'll add a name there, and it just automatically does the columns. You specify how many columns you want.
I see.
There's 3 columns.
Yeah, because I'm thinking like you could use this as well for like a funeral program, right? And so you're listing out maybe the pallbearers.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So it gives you the sacramenting template, but again, you can move these around and make it a funeral program, right?
Yes. So I tried to come up with items to add to, that would make it a lot easier, to make a nicely formatted program. And I think we've covered it pretty well. You can also add, so each one of these, there are several sections. So this is the cover section, the program section. So it's divided up into sections, and you can put anything in any section you want, but this just helps you to organize the different parts of the bulletin itself. So it looks like it provide about, I don't know, 7 or 8 different types of sections you can add. Like, for example, if you want to list the missionaries that are in your ward, you can just drag this over, and now you have a missionaries section. Or maybe you want to post the lessons for Sunday school or Relief Society or whatever. Yeah. So there's a lessons section.
And are you able to change that heading, the lessons section? Is that?
No, in fact,
okay.
That's only for it doesn't show up when you view the editor. It's only when you're editing the editor that you actually see. It tells you basically what type of section it is. You can add your own title. For example, in the calendar section here, I just added a title so that those who view the section or the bulletin can see that that's the calendar section. Same with the leaders. So let's say I wanted to add a title to this missionaries section. So I'll just drag that over. And just type in a title. You can do a little bit with the style to make it bold. align it left, right, or center, or change the font size too.
Wonderful.
So that's basically what you can do with the word bulletin. If you're the editor, you can select views from the menu here, and it will tell you how many people viewed your bulletin each week. Now, I guess it's just a sample one, so I'm the one mostly viewing this one.
Right.
So
but on maybe a typical ward, you'd open that up and say 110 people, right? That pulled that up during Sacrament meeting.
Sure, gives you an idea of how many are actually using your
Yeah,
word
that's nice.
bulletin. If you want to, you can actually print it out. Some people will actually mix the online version and a printed version for those who prefer that.
And it prints out really formatted nicely. And
yeah, so it'll be in 4 sections. Let's see if
I see.
we want to put it in landscape mode.
Oh yeah.
So basically, you print on both sides, and then you fold it over, and the cover's here, and the announcements will be on the left, and the program, and then this will be on the back.
Great.
Let's see if.
And then it shows there load template. Do you have some templates to choose from, or is that just your saved templates?
It doesn't provide any templates by default. You have to create your own template. So the way templates work is you can save any one of your sections or multiple sections into a template. So for example, your fast and testimony meeting program is going to look different than a regular sacrament meeting. So you could save a template for fast and testimony meeting, save one for sacrament meeting, save one for the primary program or the Christmas program or whatever. So once you've done all the work to set that up, then you can just load the template to for whatever you would like.
Yeah, I love it. And then you have an option to create a QR code, right? Sometimes that's it can be tricky. Some people know how to do that more than others. So this is built right in.
It is built right in. So you can either just print that, or you can copy it and paste it into a word processor program or whatever you need to do. You can type some. If you want to. If you're just going to print it, you can add some text above and below. It's pretty basic, but it works.
Love it. Really easy.
Is there anything else we've seen? There's a lot of settings I don't really need to go over where you can customize, the way it prints. You can customize some of the styling that's used in the bulletin. By default, there's a date option. So this is a date. And what that does is it automatically sets the value to the next Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
So you come in and edit it, and you don't even have to bother changing the date. Actually, this is a date too. So next Sunday is March 31st. And it will automatically
one less thing to remember to change, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. But you can change it if you're printing this, a few weeks in advance, or if you're that organized.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if I want to change that to April, I can certainly do that.
Uh-huh.
Of course, there's no 31st.
Right. Wow, that's great. That's great. And then you swap out that image to whatever image you want.
Yeah, actually, I'm glad you brought that up. So you can either upload your own image, or if you click on this media library, it actually takes you to the church's media library.
Yeah, because they provide a lot of images for free for stuff like this, right? Yeah.
Right. So you just so for example, is that the Kirtland Temple?
I think so. Very appropriate.
Yeah. So there we go. Now that's our cover image for the sacrament meeting.
I love it. Love it. Wow, you got it all covered. Any other bells and whistles that we need to consider?
No, there is. Okay, one more thing I want to show you. So you can change the coloring. If you don't like the default blue, you can choose whatever you want. Whoops. Maybe you're into red. There's also some people like dark mode. Actually, it doesn't work so well in the editor, but it works really well for the rest of the app. For those people who like dark mode. I'm not a dark mode fan myself, but some people
I'm a
are.
dark mode fan.
There you go. You can do dark mode.
That's cool.
Yeah, I think we basically covered all the features.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. A lot of things I like about this one. It's not a, you don't have to download software.
Mhm.
It's not like, or even, go find the app. You can just give people a URL to go to and they're off and running, right? It
Yes.
displays really well, obviously on desktop, but most people have it on a phone, so mobile version really is formats well. And there's just enough customization depending on the type of meeting you have, or if you switch it up for maybe a special Christmas sacrament meeting or a funeral, like we mentioned. Really, really dynamic that way. So cool. Very cool. And so does your home ward use this, Alan? Have you convinced your
No.
bishop?
No, I don't. So during the pandemic, there was an interest in online bulletins, since they were just a little leery about, passing out the paper ones. So quite a few wards did, and a few wards in our stake did look at it, but
Yeah.
not our ward. I actually haven't brought it up with anybody in our ward. So.
Oh, come on, Alan. You got let your light so shine. Let's do this.
I should do that. Yeah.
Well, this is cool. And do you know about roughly how many like users or programs are on your?
Yeah. So I don't remember if I already mentioned this, but there's about 500 accounts that have been set up and published at least one copy of the bulletin. Quite a few of those are just people evaluating it, and
Yeah.
But yeah, there's we get well, recently we've been getting about 12,000 bulletin downloads per week.
Wow.
But I was going over the numbers this morning and it was up to 19,000.
Oh, wow.
So
it's grown.
I think that is because of the interest in the version 2. Another main feature of version 2 is that the editor is a lot better. It's a lot easier to use. And I'll be the first to admit that the version 1 editor was a bit clunky.
As they always are, right?
Yeah, that's why I was motivated to make something a lot better. And I think it works a lot better now. So.
That's great. That's cool. Now, we should mention, like I think the church is sort of created a feature, I believe it's in Gospel Library, right, where the award can enter the hymns of sacrament, and then even like maybe what the conference talk is in the second hour for
Elders Quorum and Religious Society. Right? Yeah, that's a really cool feature.
Yeah. So again, to each their own. This is a little more dynamic, especially with announcements and the additional things you can put in there. But you can do both as well. So they're really easy to enter in both areas. But yeah.
So I noticed when I was looking through the download stats, it's organized by 24 hours, one day at a time. I noticed that there's a lot of downloads on Saturday. And initially I thought, well, that must just be the bulletin editors, downloading and working on it the day before. But there's way too many for that. My guess is that people who have access to this, they'll actually load up the app on Saturday and say, well, who's going to be speaking in church tomorrow?
Let's see the lineup. Maybe I'll sleep in. Maybe I won't. I don't
know. No, but it does give you that flexibility. You can pull up the announcements anytime during the week if you've forgotten what they are and you throw away your paper bulletin. So
well, that's really cool. I think it's really inspiring to see members like you use your time, talents, and ability, as they say, to help us out and create some really cool features and tools out there. So
there is a button right here on the front page where you can send feedback or ask questions. It's down here at the bottom, send us email. And anyway, I do get comments all the time, that almost everyone starts out with, I love your app. even if they're having a problem or a question, that's the first thing they'll say. We love your app.
Yeah.
So that's very rewarding. I certainly never would think to charge for it or anything, but
Yeah. And that's another thing we should definitely highlight is this is for free, right? You don't have to
mhm.
dip into the ward budget to keep it going. But is it becoming more and more of an expense for you
Well, not
to
so
maintain?
far. So I have to use cloud services, for the web hosting and to upload the bulletins and a few other things. And fortunately, the services that I'm using have a free tier, and at the time, it's small enough that it falls within that free tier. But
Yeah.
if it grows too much, there may be some minor expenses, which is
Well,
okay. If the whole church adopts it, then that would be a problem.
right. Then we might be seeing food storage ads at the bottom of the program. No, I'm
no,
just kidding.
no ads.
No. Well, please let us know. I'd love to, if we can help as a leading saints organization to keep this going. We'd love to make that possible. And it really could be one of those things where I think this has happened with other apps and things where the church sort of just creates their own thing or calls you and
Sure.
says, app or Alan, bring your app over here. And, but hey, until then, this is a great tool to use and really can enhance the meeting experience. And the old, I don't know if you ever served in a bishopric before, but you give these announcements, in sacrament meeting, and you give them 10 times, and then people wonder, why didn't you tell us about that activity? And we
Yeah.
think, we did, and so this is just one more place
Yeah.
to do it. I don't know. It would be interesting is there, and I guess you could just essentially, because I know like ward leaders have access to do email blasts through the church system. And so essentially
Yes.
you could do that each week, and include the link, and that way people sort of get pinged in their email as well as far as the announcements or who's speaking, or, I would even see, sending it out on Saturday evening and letting people know, hey, remember church tomorrow, this is what's going on, here's some announcements, and then they're already brought up to speed by the time they walk in the chapel. So
Sure.
that's cool. Yeah. Awesome, Alan. So if people want to jump into this again, where would you send them just to create an account and start doing it?
Okay. The direct link is it's wardbulletin.app, or as I mentioned at the beginning, you can just do a Google search on Ward Bulletin, and it will take you right there.
Love it. Very cool. All right, I'm texting my bishop after this. We got to get on the Ward Bulletin train here. So really cool stuff.
Yeah.
Well, Alan, last question I have for you, just as you serve in this way, and I'm sure you've had opportunities to lead in various capacities in the past, and how was being a leader and giving of your talents here helped you become a better follower of Jesus Christ?
Well, that's a really good question. Actually, most of my church service has been more support. I spent 20 years in San Diego in state callings. I was stake executive secretary.
Oh, wow.
Well, I did serve as stake young men leader, so that's definitely a leadership position. But
Yeah.
I also served as state clerk, and then as a high counselor. When I was a stake executive secretary, actually ward executive secretary too, and I've served as clerks. Those are support positions. I always saw my responsibility is making sure that our leader had free time to do what they need to do, and that we as support people we could make that possible by doing things that providing support for the leaders basically. So I think that's an important function. Of course, certainly being a leader is important too, and that's one of those kinds of things where you really need help if you're going to do it right. You need help from your counselors, from other people that you work with, and certainly through prayer and scripture study.